Welcome to the Explainer. Look, we've all been there, right? A project kicks off with all this excitement, and before you know it, it's just chaos. It doesn't matter if it's at work or something you're doing at home, trying to juggle all the moving parts is tough. So today, we're going to build a playbook to help you master that chaos. This is your guide to project management.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to tackle this whole thing by asking 5 really critical questions. We'll kick things off with the big picture stuff, like who should you be as a project manager? Then we'll dive right into the practical side, planning for success and actually staying on track. After that, we'll get into the people side of things. And of course, we'll wrap up with what to do when, things go wrong. Because they always do.
All right, first up, this is a question that honestly trips up so many people who are in charge. Are you a manager or are you a leader? I know it sounds simple, but believe me, getting this one right, it changes everything about how you run your project.
So let's really break this down. Management, that's all about control. Think of it like gears and checklists and spreadsheets. You're organizing all the stuff, the budgets, the schedules, the resources. But leadership, that's all about people. It's about motivating your team, sparking that innovation, and really bringing everyone together to work as one cohesive unit.
So what's the answer then? Is it one or the other? No way. It's not even a choice. You have to be both. And this is the key takeaway, right here. You manage the project, but you lead the team. See, when you lead well, you're actually empowering your team to manage the nitty-gritty details themselves. And that partnership, that's what really makes a project succeed.
Okay, so you've got the leader mindset down. You have a vision. Now what? Well, even the best leaders on the planet need a rock-solid plan. So in this next part, we're diving deep into the tools you absolutely need to build that foundation for your project. Probably the most important tool in your scheduling toolbox is something called the Critical Path Method, or CPM for short. Now just imagine your entire project is a giant, complicated series of dominoes. The critical path, that's the longest single line of dominoes that has to fall in a perfect sequence. If even one of those little guys is delayed, the very last domino, your project deadline, gets pushed back. It's so powerful because it tells you exactly where you cannot afford a delay. And here's how you actually find that critical path. It's really just a simple, logical process. First, you list out absolutely everything that needs to get done. Then, you figure out how long each thing is going to take, and crucially, which tasks depend on others finishing first. Once you connect all those dots, the critical path just, it emerges. And that's it. That's the timeline you have to protect no matter what.
Now, a huge part of planning is also about managing risk, and that often comes down to contracts. So on one end of the spectrum, you've got a fixed price contract. This puts pretty much all the risk on the seller. They give you a price, and they have to stick to it. Simple. But then, on the complete opposite end, you have the cost plus percentage contract. People sometimes call this the worst contract ever created, and here's why. Imagine you're paying a contractor for all their costs plus a 10% fee. What's their incentive to save money? They have none. In fact, the more they spend, the more they make. All of that risk lands right in your lap.
Okay, so your plan is solid. It's in place. The next big challenge is keeping an eye on progress without turning into a dreaded micromanager. So how do you keep a pulse on the project? Well, let's look at 2 really important tools for this: the right kind of meetings and the right kind of metrics.
Let's talk meetings for a sec, because not all meetings are the same. A daily stand-up, which comes from the Agile world, is all about speed and keeping momentum. It's a quick 15-minute huddle. It is not a problem-solving session. Everyone just answers 3 simple questions. What did I do yesterday? What am I doing today? And what's blocking me? That's it. You just identify the roadblocks. The sit-down review. That's where the real deep dive happens. That's your time for problem-solving, making key decisions, and making sure stakeholders are in the loop.
When problems start popping up, it is so easy to feel completely overwhelmed. A great way to focus your efforts is to use something called the Pareto principle. You've probably heard of it as the 80-20 rule, and it's such a simple but powerful idea. Most of your problems, we're talking like 80% of them, probably come from just a handful of causes, like 20%. So the trick is to find and fix that vital few.
And here's exactly what that looks like in the real world. Just look at this chart. See that one huge bar, cause A? That one thing is responsible for more than half of your headaches. So if you just focus all your team's energy on tackling cause A and then cause B, bam, you've just eliminated 80% of your problems. It's so easy to get distracted by all the little things, but don't. Find the big levers and pull them. That is the definition of working smarter, not harder.
All right, now we get to the social side of project management. And let's be honest, this is often the hardest part. We're talking about influence and negotiation. See, as a project manager, you almost always need help from people who don't actually report to you. So, how do you get them to help you out when you have no formal authority over them?
The secret here is to start thinking in terms of currencies of influence. Because here's the thing, everyone values different stuff. You might not be able to offer someone a raise or a promotion, but what can you offer? Maybe it's helping them out with a difficult task, or maybe it's giving them some recognition, a shout out in a big meeting. Heck, even a simple, genuine thank you can be an incredibly powerful currency. The whole game is just figuring out what that other person actually values.
And when it comes to negotiation, the most important thing is a mindset shift. You have to stop thinking of it as us versus them. It's not a conflict. The real trick is to separate the people from the problem. Frame the entire conversation as everyone working together, on the same side of the table, trying to find a solution that works for everybody. When you treat it like a shared puzzle you're all solving together, you'll come up with amazing solutions that would just never happen in a fight.
You've heard the saying, no plan survives first contact with the enemy. Well, in project management, that enemy is just reality. It's just a fact of life. So for the last part of our playbook, we need a process for when things inevitably, and sometimes, spectacularly, go wrong.
So, when a crisis hits, what's our first instinct? To panic, right? A formal process like this one is the absolute antidote to panic. Instead of just guessing or pointing fingers, you follow the steps. First, you clarify the issue. What exactly is the problem? Then you investigate. You collect the data and find the real root cause, not just the symptoms. Once you've done that, you can evaluate your options, select the best one, and implement it. Having this kind of structure gives you a clear path forward when everything else just feels like chaos. And there you have it. That's our playbook. But here's the thing. These skills aren't just for some massive corporate project. They're literally life skills. I mean, think about it. Planning a vacation, tackling a personal goal, even something as huge as organizing a wedding. This playbook can help turn that potential chaos into a huge success story. So the real question I have for you is, what project in your life could use a better playbook?